I have a second channel, Cube Comp MTDX. Hey everybody. So recently I swapped up the motherboard on the computer Plexi for this Asus M4A78LT-M motherboard, which this specific one came out of an Asus CM1630 desktop computer. This was an Asus branded desktop system. This was a part system I got years ago. So this motherboard had spent at least a year in the TV box, and I recently pulled this motherboard out and used it to upgrade to Plexi. So there is a retail version of this motherboard out there, and really there's not much of any difference hardware-wise, except this particular board, this OEM version, does not have the IDE connector. But when it comes to the BIOS, they essentially took the BIOS for this board and stripped out a lot of useful functions, such as core unlocker, overclocking functions, and this miscellaneous stuff like that. And we're looking into BIOS right now, and I figured to start this out we'll take a look through all the menus and stuff. So this is the more or less the SATA configuration here. So this motherboard does offer RAID. There's the system information. This is still running the factory processor and memory that came in the original desktop. I have not swapped those out yet. So on the advanced tab you have CPU config, chipset, onboard devices config, PCIe plug and play, and USB config. So in CPU configuration, you don't have all the advanced options that you would typically have on a retail board, such as overclocking and stuff like that. So this is what the current menu looks like there. And let's go to chipset. So this is the chipset advanced menu. I haven't really messed too much with this, but I'm using a video card on this system, so I don't really care for that. Onboard devices. Here's the power settings. Advanced power management. Hard monitor configuration. And you do have you can actually turn off smart fan if you wish with this particular BIOS. So yeah, I haven't flashed the BIOS yet. That's what I'm doing. I'm showing the factory OEM BIOS right quick. So this is an older BIOS. This was definitely before UEFI, by the way. This motherboard is from around, I think, 2010. Windows 7 era. So we do have an easy flash utility in here, and I think I might try that to flash the BIOS. And it does have the option to check your LAN. And I think I went through this. I did a run through the BIOS in my part system video featuring this board. So what we're going to do is start up the system, and I'm going to put the I'm going to stick the BIOS on a USB stick of some sort. So here we are on the BIOS Mods forum, and I just found this from a simple Google search a while back. This user has uploaded a modified BIOS. It's a modified ROM that was originally intended for the retail M4A78LT-M motherboard, but it's been modified so that its ROM ID model matched that used of the OEM board, allowing it to be flashed to the OEM board. The modified BIOS will enable features that were stripped from the OEM BIOS, on the M4A78LT-M CM1630 motherboard. So the modified BIOS is version M4A78LT-M Asus-0802. The ROM will enable the following options: jumper free configuration, CPU config, NOR bridge configuration, memory configuration, ECC configuration, APM configuration, power monitor, and Asus OC profile. So these are features that you would typically find on a retail Asus motherboard at the time. And here's a download right here. Now, if you don't have an account with BIOS Mods Forum, you have to create one in order to download this. So you can either create an account or just use a burner email address to briefly create an account and then close the account or whatever. But I've already downloaded the ROM, so I'm going to place it onto my I'm going to place it onto a USB stick, and we'll try using the Asus Easy Flash utility that's in the BIOS to try to flash this and see what happens. Okay, so I've placed the ROM onto the flash drive, and let's go ahead and restart and try to use the Easy Flash utility. I think it was in the I think it was inside the SAP utility, so we'll go have a look. Now, if I can remember where it was. It is late at night, of course. That's why I do most of my videos here lately. Easy Flash 2. Interesting. This utility can actually also access your internal hard drive. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, I just had to hit tab. Alright, let's try this. Okay, it's not liking the boot block for some reason, so we may have to use an alternate means of flashing this. Okay, so another day, I went online and downloaded the engineering version of AFU DOS. This is the DOS-based flasher for AMI BIOS, and I just had this thing read and back up the BIOS that's on the motherboard. This is the first flash utility to successfully be able to back it up. So I have the BIOS file, the modded BIOS file on my USB stick here, and we're going to go and try to flash this. And fingers crossed I don't brick this motherboard. Otherwise I'll be having to look for one on eBay, it looks like. Okay, so before I go ahead and start this, I want to mention I did, after reading some more into this last night, I had read that in some instances the onboard Ethernet controller will quit working. So I do have some PCI gigabit LAN cards on hand. So, all right, let's do this. So this particular flash utility will flash a BIOS regardless of mismatches and stuff like that. Tell you what, guys, this is probably the most anytime that you're flashing a BIOS on a system, you always break out in a sweat hoping that it completes successfully, and also that your power doesn't go out. Alright, please restart computer. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we get a successful post. Yep. I think. Ooh, yes, look. Interesting. Alright, we're in. So the fact that we saw the loading Asus Express gate at the bottom was definitely a sign that things are definitely different now. So this BIOS, you can already see there's a difference now. Now, as mentioned, this particular board does not have a ID connector, so I can't use the ID bus. I'm not sure if the board even has the rest of the circuitry involved for the ID bus, because somebody might be thinking, oh, Nick, you could just solder on a ID connector, but it's probably more involved than this that. Alright, so we go to SATA configuration, and you can see it's setting everything back to default, and that's why I wanted to go in, is going to the BIOS. Dadgum, I'm not sure I'm getting all this on the screen, sorry guys. Alright, so here we are. Got that set up, and we go into advanced. You can see now we have jumper free configuration where we can overclock the CPU, the onboard graphics. We have all these options now that were not there previously. So we can overclock the CPU and do all sorts of neat stuff with it. It's practically like a retail board now. So anti-surgy support. Interesting. So this is a horror monitor. So yeah, I'm thinking, if I'm not mistaken, there's even more options now in the horror monitor than there was previously. Yeah, because the previous BIOS, you had the option to disable or enable the smart QFan function, but you couldn't go in and really fine-tune it. So I'm just, like I said, I'll have to go back and look at the video to really see every single difference, but for you guys watching the video, you'll be able to see all the differences. I'm going to try it away. So you can see now we have Asus OC profile, where you can save overclock settings among other things. Lots of other stuff in here. Now I'm wondering where the I thought there was an option here to unlock cores I had read about. It's probably in here somewhere. Oh look, you can configure memory options among other things. Yeah, I'll have to figure out the core unlocking function. Maybe it's CPU dependent. I'm not certain. I thought the Athlon 2s could be unlocked, but maybe it's just the Phenom series. We're going to go ahead and go into the system BIOS. Excuse me, back into Windows. I'm sorry. I'm curious to see if the Oh, press 4. We're going to activate the core unlocker and see what happens here. Let's see if it can unlock cores on this thing. It's kind of funny that this other BIOS has the AMD logo as the splash screen and not the Asus logo like the other one. So let me see what the LAN controller is doing. Yeah, the lights are off on the Ethernet controller, so it looks like we may not have a functional Ethernet controller now. And you can see Windows 10 it looked like it was getting set up on a different computer. Let's just see how it deals with that. But as you could probably see, there was a little X next to the LAN symbol. So we're going to have to install an Ethernet controller, a PCI Ethernet controller on this thing. And I do have gigabit LAN controller, so that's no big loss to me. So heads up, guys, if you ever decide to flash this BIOS on your board, you will lose your onboard Ethernet. So let's go ahead and pull up CPU-Z and see what it says for the motherboard information. As you may recall, as you may have seen in the video, I had shown where okay, it still reports as a X2 220. So yeah, the core unlocker may not have been able to do much anything with this, but anyways, okay, it's still reporting as a CM1630, but we definitely do have the different BIOS. As you see, it's version 0802, which is dated August 2010. I still think it's pretty cool, though. You know, the memory is in slot 3 and slot 4. But anyways, I think that kind of wraps up for this video. So as I mentioned, I'm going to have to install a PCI gigabit LAN controller on this board to get the networking back. But other than that, that is flashing the BIOS on this board with a modified BIOS to make this board behave like its retail cousin. So a quick little update on the Plexi after I shot the video of me swapping out this motherboard for this one. There's the old board that was on it, that socket AM2 Plus board. And also, after shooting the video of me installing the modded BIOS on this board to unlock features, since this was originally an OEM motherboard, I've noticed an issue with this motherboard, and I think this issue had already existed with the board. The PCI slots, the two PCI slots there, are non-functional. They do not function with the modded BIOS, nor do they function with the original BIOS that was on this board. I actually had flashed back to the old BIOS, which I'm going to show you this motherboard here in a minute. And I was able to, well, the reason why I tested out the PCI slots is because, as I mentioned in the BIOS mod video, is the modded BIOS, the onboard Ethernet LAN does not work. It's non-functional. So the typical workaround for that would be to install a PCI gigabit LAN card like this one right here. And you can see I also have a wireless card as well as a TV tuner card installed for testing reasons. So yeah, both PCI slots do not function, as mentioned, under the modded BIOS or the original BIOS. The PCI cards do get power. As you can see, the wireless card is blinking. It is getting power. And I did test a standard fast Ethernet card in the second slot, and it gets power too. It's just like there could be an issue with the hardware on the board itself. It is an older motherboard, so there's no telling. So with that being said, I went on eBay and just had a look at some motherboards that were for sale. And actually I went and bought this one, and it should be here within a week or so. And whenever I get it, I'll be installing this one. So this motherboard here, this is an Asus M4A 88T-M. This is a newer, this is a little bit newer board. It's similar to that one there, but this one, instead of offering two PCI slots and one single lane PCI Express, as well as the PCI Express 16, this one offers just one PCI slot and two single width PCI Express slots, as well as the full the 16 times PCI Express slot there for the graphics card. This motherboard has the IDE header right there, so that way I can use the existing ID DB drive that's on the Plexi. And this motherboard also offers USB 3.0, so we have a total of 4 USB 2 ports as well as 2 USB 3 ports, as well as gigabit LAN and the VGA, DVI, and HDMI, which I won't be using that because I'll be using the graphics card anyway. The onboard graphics on these boards just isn't that great. So as you may be able to see, this motherboard here, it has, let me get a close-up of it, try to get around to it. This motherboard has 6 USB 2. It has, of course, I think it's a 7.1 channel audio, has the optical audio out. As you can see, matter of fact, I think these boards even share the same I/O shield plate. Because you look at these two, they're really similar. But it's just that motherboard there is a little bit newer, and I got it for a price that I was okay with. But I'm really surprised though at how much these socket AM3 boards are selling for right now. I mean, these motherboards, some of them are 10 years old and they're still selling for $30 to $50. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, after shipping and everything, it was like $45, including the ridiculous 7.25% sales tax here. So yeah, it'll be here around a week or so, hopefully. And it's interesting because the seller is in Ohio, and I'm curious to see what kind of shipping speeds we'll be getting from Ohio right now with the coronavirus. I had a shipment from Texas, was it last week or week before, and it took 8 days to arrive. Whereas I had another shipment from New York that arrived in 2 days, and it was a first class package, not even priority. But anyways, that's a quick little update on the Plexi and what's to come with it. I decided to kind of bite the bullet and get a different motherboard for it. That way I won't have to worry about adding in an expansion card for USB 3 or an expansion card, or no, excuse me, having to make an adapter to adapt this existing drive to work with this motherboard. So yeah, this motherboard here, aside from the 2 PCI Express slots being non-functional, no, excuse me, the 2 PCI slots being non-functional, it's just, I mean, it seems to be okay in other regards, but if I were to use that modded BIOS on this again, I would have to find me a PCI Express Ethernet LAN card, and you could pretty much forget about installing anything else on this thing. So it might be something just to have on the side to play around with, I don't know. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Well everybody, that's it for this video, but don't forget there's a lot more interesting stuff on the channel to check out. Also, if this is your first time visiting this channel, feel free to subscribe to keep your channel, and also don't forget to tick the bell so that way you'll get notified of new video posts. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, but if you really didn't like it, there is the alternative option available as well. Also, feel free to check out my second channel, CubeComp MTDX. There you'll find videos about bicycling, weather, elevator tours, and all sorts of other neat, interesting stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to come back, and thank you for your support.